There is a moment in every life when a man must choose. Will I shrink into the shadow of fear, or will I step into the fire and walk forward as if the flame cannot burn me? Because that's the truth you've been avoiding. You're not waiting for the fear to leave. You're waiting for courage to show up in the form of comfort, and it never will. The greatest lie ever sold is that you must feel ready to move. But power does not come from permission. It comes from decision. And the men who change the world, they are not the ones with certainty. They are the ones who move anyway. They act as if nothing can stop them, not because the road is clear, but because the vision is. Not because they've never failed, but because they stopped letting failure define what's possible. That's the difference between the average and the great. Average waits to feel capable, great acts, and becomes capable in the process. Thomas Edison didn't wait to feel like a genius. He lit up the world after failing 10,000 times, because he understood what you must now tattoo into your soul. Every failure is not a wall. It's a mirror showing you where you must grow. He didn't ask, what if I'm not ready? He asked, what happens if I don't try? Because the real danger isn't defeat. It's delay. The man who fears failure is already living in it. The man who waits for a sign is already ignoring the one beating in his chest. Act as if you cannot be stopped, because the only real prison is hesitation. The bars, they're made of doubt. The chains, your old story. And the key? It's buried beneath the action you keep avoiding. You see, clarity doesn't come before movement. Clarity comes through movement, through motion, through relentless doing. You're not going to think your way into greatness. You must build your way into it, with every brick laid in faith, with every step taken in defiance of fear, with every morning you rise when the world says, stay down. That's how empires are born. Not in perfection, but in perseverance. Henry Ford didn't wait for applause before he built the future. He didn't wait for mass approval before he challenged the system. He moved when the world laughed. And because of that, the world moved with him. He acted as if the impossible was already his. And now, it's your turn. Your fear isn't proof that you're weak. It's proof that you're close. Close to the edge of transformation. Close to the fire that forges the man you were born to be. But the only way through it is through it. So stop asking if you're qualified. You won't be until you start. Stop waiting to feel courageous. You won't until you walk forward shaking. Stop waiting for the fear to leave. It won't, but it will learn to follow you. Because when you act as if nothing can stop you, you stop waiting for confidence and start becoming the kind of man who creates it. Let them doubt you. Let them whisper. Let them say you're not enough. Because the world doesn't change at the hands of men who need permission. It changes when a single man decides that nothing, not fear, not failure, not rejection, can hold him back anymore. And when you move like that, with a fire in your chest that refuses to bow to circumstances, you become something different. You become the storm that shakes the stagnant, the light that exposes the lies, the voice that refuses to be silenced by statistics. Because deep down, you already know who you are. You're not the doubt. You're not the fear. You're not the version of you that's afraid to leap. You are the force that was born for this mountain, the spirit that was designed to rise, the warrior who doesn't ask, will I make it? But roars, try to stop me. So go ahead. Move, even if your legs shake, even if your voice trembles, even if the world calls you crazy. Because what they call madness today, they'll call legacy tomorrow. The battlefield is not outside you. It's not in the economy. It's not in your past. It's not in the opinions of people who never built anything themselves. The real war is inside. It's the war between the voice that says, what if I fail? And the one that dares to say, but what if I fly? And whichever voice you obey, that becomes your future. So ask yourself, who's been speaking louder in your mind? The coward or the conqueror? Because they both live inside you. One was shaped by pain, the other forged by purpose. But here's the truth most never face. You don't silence fear by feeding it. You silence fear by starving it of attention and flooding your spirit with intention. Every time you hesitate, you build the habit of doubt. But every time you move, even trembling, you build the habit of trust in yourself. And if you want to break free from the gravity of the past, you must start stacking victories. Small ones, silent ones, the kind no one sees but you. Wake up early when your body begs for sleep. Choose discipline over distraction. Speak vision into yourself when the world only offers noise. That's how confidence is built. Not in a moment, but in 1,000 daily declarations. I move because I said I would. I act because I choose who I become. I don't need to feel unstoppable to be unstoppable. Do you think Abraham Lincoln waited for the perfect moment? He led through war, through loss, through betrayal. He faced failure after failure and still stood tall. Why? Because he understood that the mission must be greater than the man. That purpose must speak louder than pain, and so must you. There are dreams locked in your chest, waiting for the day you stop asking for permission to pursue them. There are visions behind your eyes, waiting for the moment you trust what you see more than what they say. But no one will hand you the crown. You must claim it. In the dark, when no one believes, no one claps, and no one sees. You must act like a king before the world recognizes your throne. Because true power is not given, it is revealed when a man finally decides that nothing will keep him from becoming who he was born to be. Let them doubt you. That's not your burden to carry. Let them talk. Your job is to walk past the noise, past the limits, past the excuses. And here's what most people never learn. Every time you act boldly, even when afraid, you rewire your identity. You become the kind of man who moves, who builds, who creates momentum instead of waiting for it. The mind is a mirror. It reflects what you repeatedly do. Act like a builder, and you will build. Act like a leader, and you will lead. Act like a finisher, and you will finish. It doesn't matter how small the step. What matters is that it's yours. Chosen, owned, walked with fire. Because when you walk with fire, life begins to respond. Opportunities appear not because they didn't exist, but because you finally became the kind of man who sees them, the kind who earns them, the kind who expects them. And it all starts when you stop negotiating with hesitation and start commanding movement. Do you know what separates legends from the forgotten? It's not talent. It's not luck. It's not even vision. It's motion. Consistent, relentless motion. While others study the map, legends begin walking. While others ask for validation, legends validate themselves through result. While others fantasize about the summit, legends bleed on the climb. Because to act as if nothing can stop you doesn't mean you never fall. It means when you do, you get up so violently that the ground learns not to mess with you. That's the level. That's the standard. Not, will I be okay? But even if I'm not, I'll rise anyway. Walt Disney was fired for lacking imagination. They said he had no good ideas. No future, no spark. So he went and built a world from his mind. A kingdom born from rejection. A universe of wonder birthed by a man who acted as if their limits didn't apply to him. And now you watch his creations You admire his work, but what you need to admire most was the moment he stood in nothing and declared it something. You can do the same. But you must learn to walk like you've already won. Not because it's easy, but because it's yours. You must walk like it's yours. Before it is. Speak like it's yours before they hear you. Work like it's yours before you're paid for it. Because ownership begins in spirit long before it touches your bank account, your title, or your trophy. This is the great illusion most never break. They wait for the world to validate the dream before they validate themselves. But the world doesn't move first. You do. Act like the winner now before they know your name. Build like the founder now before the foundation even dries. Show up like you're meant to be here even when the door is still locked, even when no one's watching, even when your own family rolls their eyes when you speak of vision, because vision is sacred. And it dies every time you hand it to someone who has never built anything of their own. You must guard it, feed it, fuel it with action, not just affirmation. You don't need more quotes. You need more fire. And fire comes from doing, not just dreaming. Henry Ford didn't ask if he was qualified to change the world. He didn't ask permission to revolutionize transportation. He acted on instinct and belief. He failed, bankrupted, got laughed at, but he moved. And because he moved, we now move. We ride the momentum of men who had no roadmap, just relentless resolve. Now it's your turn. Someone in the future is waiting for you to act today, to say yes, to risk it, to build it, to bet on yourself so that they don't have to bet on average. And if you think you're not ready, good. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. No great man was ever ready. He just decided. He leaped and built the wings on the way down. He accepted that the pain of growth is the cost of greatness. It's not about feeling prepared. It's about being willing to bleed for a vision no one else can see. That's leadership, and that's what you're called to. Not a job, not a side hustle, not a title. A calling to rise in a world that sleeps, to move in a world that pauses, to create in a world that consumes. And you don't need to shout about it. You don't need a viral post. Your excellence is the announcement. Act so boldly, so consistently, that they can't ignore you, even if they try. Let your presence shift the room. Let your mindset infect the atmosphere. Because when you carry purpose, you walk with a gravity that bends the air around you. But that kind of gravity is earned. It's earned in silence, in sacrifice, in the days when you show up and no one claps. When you push through the fog, trusting that clarity belongs to those who move through chaos, not those who wait for calm. And in that chaos, you must learn to rule yourself. Because a man who rules his mind will one day rule empires. But a man who is ruled by emotion will build nothing but regret. Control is not force. Control is presence. It's choosing the hard path because your future demands it. It's standing tall when every part of you wants to shrink. It's responding, not reacting. It's saying, I will not be moved by momentary storms. I am anchored to something deeper. That is how you act, as if nothing can stop you. Not with arrogance, but with alignment. When your actions align with your convictions, you become a storm. You walk into boardrooms, interviews, studios, gyms, not as a beggar for opportunity, but as a bringer of impact. And that mindset, it scares people. Because most have never met a man who knows where he's going, with or without their applause. So be that man. Be the one who doesn't need motivation, because his mission is motivation. Be the one who doesn't check the likes because he checks the results. Be the one who builds so long in the dark that when the spotlight finally comes, he doesn't flinch because he knows who he is without it. The spotlight doesn't make you, it reveals you. So build in the dark. Build like your legacy is on the line, because it is. And one day, you will look back on the season where nobody clapped, where nobody cared, where the nights were cold and the mornings were heavy, and you will smile because you did not break. You built. You built in the silence. You built when your hands were trembling. You built when your heart was shattered. You built when every logical thought told you to quit, but something deeper said no. You didn't wait to feel fearless. You moved with fear in your shoes and courage in your spine. You acted, not because you knew how it would end, but because you refused to stay where you were. That is the mark of every champion. Not perfection, not luck, but the unshakable decision to keep going when it would have been so much easier to stay still. You see, there is a war happening, not out there in the world, but in your soul. The battle between two selves, the version of you that bows, apologizes, conforms, and the version of you that walks like destiny is carved in his bones. And every single day, you get to choose which one wins. Not once, not someday, but every day. And that choice, it won't feel like fireworks. It will feel like discipline. It will feel like getting up when it hurts. It will feel like walking away from people who don't clap for your growth. It will feel like hearing your own family say, just be realistic, and still choosing to be radical in your belief, because realism never changed the world. Conviction did. So believe in a future that hasn't been written. Live as though the doors are already open, because when you knock long enough, they always are. Act as if the world is waiting for your voice, because it is. There are people you haven't met yet who are praying for the strength you carry. There are lives that won't be changed until you change. There are generations that won't rise until you stand. That is the weight of your life. That is the power you carry, if you dare to step into it. So stop waiting for permission. Stop shrinking for comfort. Stop dialing down your power so fragile egos around you don't feel insecure. Stand tall. Move boldly. Speak truthfully. Fail loudly. And succeed relentlessly, because every time you walk like it's already yours, every time you act like heaven assigned you this mission, you chip away at the chains of average. You silence the voice that says, who am I to do this? And replace it with, who am I not to? You are not here to survive this life. You are here to set it on fire with purpose, to make your existence echo beyond your name, your bank balance,